At its absolute peak, the Songhai Empire covered over 2 million square kilometers of West Africa. That is larger than Western Europe. It had a professional army, a standardized system of weights and measures regulating trade across its entire territory, a network of provincial governors answerable to the emperor, courts of law, tax collection systems, a standing navy on the Niger River, and at its intellectual heart, Timbuktu, with its universities, its libraries, and its 25,000 students. The Songhai Empire was, by every measure historians use to define an advanced state, one of the most sophisticated political entities of the 15th and 16th centuries. And it is one of the least known empires in popular history. Today we're telling the full story. The Songhai people had been settled along the eastern bend of the Niger River since at least the 9th century AD. Their capital, Gao, sat at the point where the Niger turns south, a strategic location on the trans-Saharan trade route. For centuries, the Songhai were subjects, first of the Ghana Empire, then of the Mali Empire. They chafed under tributary status, and they waited. Their moment came in the late 14th century. As the Mali Empire weakened under succession disputes and external pressure, the Songhai began asserting independence. The critical figure was Sunni Ali, who came to power in 1464. Sunni Ali was a military genius. In 28 years of almost continuous campaigning, he transformed Songhai from a regional power into an empire. He captured Timbuktu in 1468. He took Djenné after a 7-year siege in 1473. He expanded in every direction simultaneously. His innovation was military. He combined cavalry for speed on land with a fleet of war canoes on the Niger, giving him the ability to project power across the entire river system. No previous West African ruler had used this combination with such effect. By his death in 1492, Songhai was the largest state in West African history. If Sunni Ali was the conqueror, Askia Muhammad was the administrator, and arguably the greater statesman. Askia Muhammad seized power in 1493 and immediately began transforming Songhai from a military empire into a governed state. His first act of genius was the Hajj to Mecca in 1496, which brought him religious legitimacy as caliph for the Western Sudan, bestowed by the Sharif of Mecca himself. He returned with authority that no sword could have given him. He then systematized the empire's administration, provinces governed by appointed officials, standardized weights and measures, a professional bureaucracy, a court system. Under his rule, Timbuktu reached its absolute peak as a center of learning. He was a patron of scholars, took an active interest in theological debates, and sought learned opinions on the proper governance of a Muslim state. He was building a civilization, not just an empire. Under Askia Muhammad, Songhai stretched over 2 million square kilometers, larger than any European state of the period. Let's spend time on what life in the Songhai Empire actually looked like, because it challenges every assumption about pre-colonial Africa. Gao, the capital, was described by contemporary Arab travelers as a city of enormous wealth and activity. Leo Africanus, a Moroccan diplomat who visited in the early 16th century, wrote detailed descriptions of Gao's markets, listing commodities, prices, and the nationalities of merchants present. The Niger River was a commercial highway. Songhai maintained a fleet of war canoes that doubled as trading vessels, moving goods and tax revenues under imperial supervision. The legal system was based on Islamic law, administered by judges drawn from Timbuktu's scholarly class. These qadis issued rulings, arbitrated disputes, and maintained records that are among our richest sources for understanding daily life in the empire. Songhai had a stratified society: nobles, farmers, artisans, merchants, scholars, soldiers. It also had remarkable cultural richness, sophisticated textile traditions, a griot oral historical tradition, and architecture that set the visual standard for the entire Niger Bend region. This was not a collection of villages, it was a state. In 1591, a Moroccan army of approximately 4,000 men, including Spanish and Portuguese mercenaries armed with muskets, crossed the Sahara under the command of Juder Pasha. They were outnumbered by the Songhai army, perhaps 10 to 1. It didn't matter. At the Battle of Tondibi, the Songhai cavalry charged, the muskets fired, the horses, which had never encountered gunpowder weapons, panicked. The charge collapsed. The Songhai army broke. Gao fell. Timbuktu fell. The empire disintegrated within a decade. The Moroccans had destroyed the most sophisticated state in West Africa, but they couldn't govern it. The trade networks they hoped to seize were disrupted. The scholars fled or were taken to Morocco. The manuscripts went into hiding. The trans-Saharan gold trade collapsed. Everyone lost. The aftermath of the Moroccan invasion is one of the great preventable catastrophes of African history. A flourishing civilization was ended not by gradual decline, but by 4,000 men with guns crossing a desert. Subscribe. Next, the man who invented medicine 2,000 years before Hippocrates.